Mr. Djoghlaf, Mr. Reifsnyder, you were the ones who had to take the job to lead the negotiations for the last month. My first question to you is, how did this very complicated mission find you?
Well, they set up a process in Durban that called for co-chairs, one from the north, one from the south, to change almost every year since Durban. So we're the last pair of co-chairs. It rotated by geography. Before us, it was the European Commission and Trinidad and Tobago, and before them, it was the very first pair was from Norway and India. So I'm from the United States, Ahmed from Algeria. We're the last pair of co-chairs to land, as Ahmed says, to land the plane at Le Bourget on the 11th of December at 6 p.m.
And what was the qualification for you to take that mission?
I have been among those with Dan who have negotiated the Framework Convention on Climate Change.
In 92?
In 92. And I left after Berlin when we had the first COP and went to do biodiversity. So one day in August, a friend of mine called me. He said, Ahmed, do you know that this is the turn of Africa to present a candidature for the post of ADP? I said, why you don't apply? So as I have negotiated the Mother Convention, I thought that I have a responsibility to try to bring 35 years of experience to help to deliver the baby, the Paris baby. So it was quite an exciting, I think, moment, and I, of course, sought the support of my government and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and of course they were of the view that Algeria should contribute, and I was extremely pleased to find a friend that I know since Chantilly, I guess, for the last couple of years, and it was one of the most rewarding human experiences to work with this gentleman for the last 1 year now, and it has been a very rewarding experience.
Every time I saw you here on the venue, I only saw the both of you. You are, for me, the couple of the COP. Why is it?
Well, because we're co-chairs, so what we do, we have to do together. But we're also friends. And I say to Ahmed, I learn from him every day. I still learn from him every day. It's been a really fascinating experience and a really wonderful experience to do this.
We saw you on screens during the negotiations in the first week. On Saturday, your job was done, and now the ministers have to fulfill the work. What I saw on the screens was that you stayed calm all over the time, even when the delegates started to blame you in a very bad manner. How do you do that? What is the secret of you?
I am an Algerian, and Algerian people are known of having very high temper. And I must say that I learned from this gentleman, because I was, frankly, about to react, because I thought that it is fair for delegates to pursue their interests, although I believe they are narrow and short-term interests, but not at the expense of the dignity of those who are trying to do their best to assist them. So very harsh words have been said, very unfair judgment were passed on what we have done for this process on the 5th of October, which, by the way, has assisted ADP to deliver. But I was, because he's an old man, so as you know, old men are very calm and very, so he advised me, Ahmed, just smile.
So you, as a not old man, but maybe not so young man, what is your secret of staying calm?
Well, I take inspiration from many people who've gone before me. And I remember I worked closely with Margaret Mukahanana from Zimbabwe in chairing the LCA. And when things would get very nasty and people were saying terrible things to her, she'd become very, very calm. And she would just look at them and fold her hands, and she would say, "Thank you very much. Thank you very much." And I never forgot Margaret and her demeanor, and I've tried to emulate that in my work as well.
I must add something. When we start this process, Dan kept always saying that, Ahmed, what is at stake in this process is much more important than any of us, and the implications are far-reaching, and therefore, when you are at this position, you always remember that whatever you are going to say or not to say will have a far-reaching application, because the challenge and what is at stake is far beyond any one of us and any ego of us. So therefore, we always kept reminding that before reacting, you have to understand the implication of your action, and therefore you have to be quiet.
Obviously, there is one important rule. When we spoke with delegates of, let's say, Germany, they never say to us, okay, the Indians have to do that and that. Or now we are in the negotiation process at that point where India starts to block the debates. The Russian head of delegation, for example, said, we are very ambitious in our INDCs. Other big parties are not. But he didn't say who he had in mind. What is the rule behind that? Why is it so dangerous to call countries by name?
Because, as you know, the atmosphere here is very, very complex and very delicate. There is more or less a paranoia. And whatever you say is interpreted. And I think delegates are afraid of finger pointing each other, because it can lead to some events that no one will expect. So therefore, they are very careful about not naming the countries because they are afraid of the consequences. If Russia say X or Y, so X or Y will react. So therefore, it's a very delicate process.
Do you have an example with your experience of what happened when a country started to finger point to another country?
Well, I would say in the past, under the convention, in the subsidiary body for implementation, a former chairman, a very quite a bon vivant, quite an active chairman, Raul Estrada of Argentina, who was the father of the Kyoto Protocol. He tried at one point to get countries looking at their national communications to object and to challenge each other and to criticize what they'd done. It was very difficult for him. He had to become very provocative himself, but countries took a more live and let live kind of approach to this. I think there's a very strong hesitancy to throw stones, because when you throw a stone, pretty soon the stone comes back at you. It's very much a case where people are very hesitant to criticize anyone directly, publicly. There's much criticism behind the scenes, and people talk much about countries behind the scenes, but never in public, or very rarely in public.
Now we have Thursday morning. The process is supposed to be finalized tomorrow in the evening, but probably this won't happen. But beside from that, how big is your proud now?
Proud, no, but reward and a sense of mission accompli, job done, and well done. Because I think through our leadership, I must, in all modesty, we demonstrated that that discipline can be brought in this process. That you can start a meeting on time and finishing on time, because it's time management. And you said it's not sure that we'll finish tomorrow at 6, but I'm convinced that we'll be able to do it. And I think this will be a fantastic demonstration for future COP that indeed you can manage your time. And if a meeting is supposed to finish on a given date, it has to be finishing on a given date. And it's fundamental for the future of this process.
You know, if I could just say, a clear process and a good process is critical to the process. And I think what we've been able to do, I say a good process won't necessarily produce a positive outcome, but bad process will snuff out any opportunity of achieving that. And so I think getting this right is critical. One thing I would just point out, Ahmed and I decided that we really had to end this ADP on Saturday. And we spoke with Minister Fabius. We agreed we would end it at noon. And we did end it at noon. And it's important because there needs to be a transition from the negotiators, from the delegates to the higher level, and a clear shift at that point. And that's what occurred. I think that's very positive. There's no doubt in anyone's mind, who's in charge and who's running the show now.
Last question. How will this romantic story of your past as couple go on in the future?
friendship will continue, and we are friends and will continue to be. Now, a member of the family, because Dan is member of my family, and likewise. So it will continue.
Yeah, and Ahmed said we're old men, but we're not gone yet. So stay tuned.
Mr. Djoghlaf, Mr. Reifsnyder, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.